daylight at AT&T Park tonight as an excited crowd hopes for yet another evening that the sun won't set on their team's 2016 season. Welcome to San Francisco and Game 4 of the National League Division Series between the Chicago Cubs and the San Francisco Giants. And welcome inside the broadcast booth with Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. The night after an instant classic yesterday, 5 hours, 13 innings in a game that went down as one of the most exciting in recent division series history. The Giants stave off elimination again, 10 straight elimination wins in the postseason. And it seems along this run, John, 3 World Series titles in 5 years, they've discovered a new unlikely hero at every move. And that unlikely hero this year seems to be Conor Gillespie.
And that's why I love this time of the year, because you get to uncover those heroes. And if it weren't for the injury to Eduardo Nunez, we may not even be talking about Conor Gillespie. But it is in that wild card game where we took notice. This 3-run homer in the 9th in Madison Bumgarner's gym allowed this to even be the conversation that we're having. And then again in Madison Bumgarner's game 3, this off of Chapman. Can you imagine hitting a triple, putting your team ahead, having only 2 hits be this significant? Conor Gillespie's career has taken notice, and the San Francisco Giants have life.
Batting 6th and playing third base for Bruce Bochy again tonight. He and the rest of his Giant teammates taking swings against John Lackey, the most experienced active postseason pitcher in the game right now.
Yeah, and of all the moves that the Cubs made in the offseason, I think this is the underlying best one, because what it did is it gave them a lot of depth. It gave them that 4th starter that they need, and of course all the experience in the world. He's not going to shy away from any moment. He's been in all the moments. There's his postseason record, 8-5. And oh, by the way, as age has crept up on him, being with the Cubs this year, this is the best he's done with a lot of categories. You see hits per 9 in innings, and of course the balls in play, a batting average, a career low, and then the strikeouts per 9 inning. For the Chicago Cubs, they're hoping that John Lackey can take them back to Chicago, reset their rotation without having to go to a Game 5.
Not as many postseason innings for the Giants starter, but there is some postseason experience to draw on for San Francisco left-hander Matt Moore. For more on him, we say hello to Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Matt Moore's first postseason start was for the Tampa Bay Rays in 2011. He was 22 at the time. It was his 4th major league appearance. The Rays did not want him to think too much about it. They didn't want him to think too much about it, so they did not tell him about it until after the workout the day before. Well, Moore was brilliant that day, pitching 7 scoreless innings against the Rangers, but he had some rocky times after that, underwent Tommy John surgery in 2014. The Giants acquired him on August 1st to bolster their rotation, and tonight he will face the manager who first gave him the ball in 2011, Joe Maddon.
All right, Kenny, Joe Maddon hoping that what happened last night, being 6 outs away from heading back home and thinking about a date with either the Dodgers or the Nationals, is his fate tonight. It is Matt Moore to try to stave off elimination for San Francisco once again. 33 starts during the regular season. His combined numbers between Tampa Bay and San Francisco, a 13-game winner with a 4.08 ERA. He finished very strong for the Giants down the stretch. Most recently on the final Sunday of the regular season, 8 innings of 1-run baseball in a 7-1 San Francisco win. This is how Joe Maddon approaches Game 4, his lineup against Matt Moore tonight. Not a lot of changes, but some notable discussion points and a notable cold spell for Anthony Rizzo, who is hitless 0 for 13 this postseason. Jason Hayward gets a start in right, David Ross at catcher. Those were 2 positions that we kind of speculated as to what Joe would do on our way to the ballpark tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would look for the first inning is always a key, right? The first inning as a starting pitcher, you want to come out and establish yourself. But for Matt Moore, I would think the first innings, he's had some hiccups this year. He loves to attack with the fastball. And after attacking with the fastball about the 2nd time through the lineup, he mixes it in. But against the Cubs, that may not be a good formula. He's going to have to mix it up right from the beginning if he's going to have success against the Cubs.
Well, some of the fastball usage that you talk about, John, he does start fastball heavy early on. He's been that way for a while, and Joe Maddon is certainly familiar with Matt Moore, having managed him in Tampa Bay for a number of years. And When Matt broke in, Madden was one of his mentors in the big leagues. Let's take a look at the defense behind Matt Moore tonight. Gillespie, Crawford, Panic, and Belt in the infield. Blanco, Span, and Pence in the outfield. Another night without Angel Pagan, who was again unavailable because of back spasms. And Buster Posey, of course, behind the plate as per usual in the postseason for San Francisco. Dexter Fowler digging in as we are ready to put the opening trappings on Game 4 here in San Francisco on a beautiful night for baseball. Moore is ready, and we are underway tonight. Dexter Fowler 2 for 12 so far in this division series. He is among a notable group of Cubs that have been slow to get out of the gate so far this postseason. So much attention had been given, John, to the Giants' offensive misgivings in games 1 and 2. The Cubs, for their part, though they have a 2-1 lead, have not put up the kind of offensive numbers that folks are accustomed to seeing.
No, they haven't, and a lot of pressure on that front four of the lineup for the Cubs. And it's actually been some contributions from Pedro Baez along with Bryant, and you mentioned the pitchers that have carried them so far at this point.
A ball and 2 strikes, the count to the switch hitter Dexter Fowler. Well, it hasn't just been Anthony Rizzo. Fowler, as we talked about, 2 for 12. Jason Hayward has been slow, and Addison Russell continuing a trend that started in September. A slow finish based on the great overall season he had. And a ball, strike 3 starts the night.
Yeah, a little surprised by this at bat. You know, Fowler's going to be patient early, but taking 2 fastballs down the middle and then an inner half fastball. Matt Moore is going to throw fastball, knuckle, curveball. He's got a cutter he's bringing back and a changeup that's way, way underrated. Posey has been trying to entice him to throw more changeups as he gets through the game.
Here's Chris Bryant now. He takes a strike.
And there's that changeup right there. In his last game, Matt Moore came out against the Dodgers and pretty much just said, here's my fastball, go ahead and hit it. And already he's mixed in his curveball and changeup in the first inning.
Quickly 0-2 to Chris Bryant, who was 3 for 5 yesterday with the big game-tying home run in the 9th. That sent us to an eventual 13 innings and a San Francisco walk-off winner. Well, when you're in a category with home run Baker, first player since 1911 with a game-tying postseason homer in the 9th inning or later in Cubs history, you have done something very special. 0-2 to the 2-time All-Star, and he wants to think about things. One of the storylines in this pitching matchup tonight, John, is the unknown for the Chicago lineup. There is only one Cub in tonight's lineup that's faced Matt Moore previously, and that was Dexter Fowler with a grand total of 1 at-bat against him. But for the rest of the lineup, Bryant on down, this is the first they've ever seen of the 27-year-old left-hander.
Well, that's the pitch he's going to have. That curveball. Bryant struggles a little bit against curveballs as opposed to sliders. And you see it's a knuckle curveball, which is going to create that downward tilt.
Ben Zobrist casually taking in the proceedings. Still 1-2 to Chris Bryant.
Well, we have all kinds of video and data, of course, that these players are going to be pulling from. So they'll watch a lot of video of Matt Moore and vice versa. Matt Moore will watch the Cubs, and so far you can tell he's paid attention to what the Cubs do best, and that's crush fastballs. You have to throw fastballs, you have to establish it, but you don't pound it just to be your point. And he's already mixed up a good array of off-speed pitches, only 2 hitters in.
Has what he likes from Posey. The next 2-strike pitch misses down low, and it's 2-2.
And in a regular season game, Matt, you wouldn't do that. because a regular season game doesn't mean as much as this postseason game, and certainly an elimination game for the Giants. So you alter what you would traditionally do in a regular season game when you have the magnitude of this game. You have to. Your first inning is like your ninth inning, and you try to repeat that every single chance you get to stay in the game.
Moore's 2-2. He swung on and missed. There's that good changeup you talked about once again.
That's something since he's come over here, he's been able to utilize more. You see the changeup grip, and it comes off the fastball where you got to respect it, and then you see the depth and the change of velocity. 6-5 with San Francisco, 7-7 with Tampa Bay, and the same ERA, which is hard to do, by the way. 4.08.
So here now is Anthony Rizzo again, 0 for 13 so far in the series.
Now, if Moore gets ahead of Rizzo, curveball should be the choice. Rizzo has struggled against left-handers' curveballs.
Ball and a strike. Well, we talk about Anthony Rizzo struggling this postseason. The Cubs don't want to think that this is a trend, although the numbers do bear out some deeper problems. Just 6 for 45 in the postseason the last 2 years. That's a big layoff for him, because that's the kind of pitch Joe Madden told us earlier today that Anthony Rizzo's been expanding his strike zone to try to get, and that's part of his problem, as you can see here, expanding against Madison Bumgarner. So I guess a 1-1 take isn't going to get the kind of notoriety that you'd like when you want to be written up in the newspaper the next day. But when Joe Madden's looking for signs that Rizzo's coming around, that may be an important one. Moore a strike away from striking out the side to open the ninth. You think the crowd's into it tonight? The ball dudes, the seniors who collect foul balls here at AT&T Park and have for years. I mean, that guy looks like he's ready to go out there and play at second base tonight. The next 2-2. Another good tough take by Rizzo to draw a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
You saw him stay on that 2-2 curveball and pull it foul. See if Matt Moore goes to a 3-2 curveball. Him and Posey trying to figure out.
The payoff pitch. He lost him on ball 4.
Yeah, that one he went with the cutter. He has a cutter at 90 to 92 miles an hour, and you can imagine adrenaline working. And that cutter just never started at a height where Rizzo felt like it would be a strike.
So here's Ben Zobrist now after the 2-out walk by Anthony Rizzo. Zobrist yesterday started in the outfield, moved around as a part of Joe Madden's grand scheme of mixing and matching in the extra innings, and takes a strike. Zobrist just 2 for 12 in the series. That's going to sound redundant, but again, it hasn't just been 1 or 2 Cubs that have struggled at the plate in this series. Oh, and 2 the count to Ben Zobrist.
Well, you can see the firm fastball at 95. Matt Moore loves his fastball. A little bit of a grunt going on, and getting ahead of most of the hitters. Setting a pretty good tone so far for his team, trying to get him in the dugout with no runs.
2 to Zobrist is fouled away as he challenged him with a fastball. And as we welcome those of you who just got through watching the Dodgers survive a game-winning run, scoring in the bottom of the 8th inning in Los Angeles after yielding a late lead, is able to beat the Washington Nationals to send that series to a decisive Game 5. Alongside John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian just underway here in San Francisco. A 2-out base runner for the Cubs in their half of the first, and an 0-2 pitch home to Ben Zobrist that's chopped out to second base. Joe Panik gathers it in. Nothing doing against Matt Moore to start tonight. Here's Bruce Bochy's Game 4 starting lineup. Span, Belton, Posey started out. Pence, Crawford, and Gillespie, the 5 and 6 holes, changing places from last night. Joe Panik, Gregor Blanco, and Matt Moore round things out for San Francisco. John Lackey ready to go to work. The most experienced active postseason pitcher in the game. More postseason innings than CC Sabathia, than John Lester, than Madison Bumgarner, Cole Hamels, or anybody else you want to produce. 29 regular season starts, and he delivered as advertised in his age 37 season. A point John made when we signed on. Lackey's never been better. He does, however, yield an opening base hit to Denard Span and more. Span into second with a leadoff double.
Span has a unique batting stance. He's already coiled, and then he just drops the hand and goes. It's like pulling back a rubber band and then letting it go. He's already in that position. And for the San Francisco Giants, they're hoping that this is more to come for their offense.
Denard Span has been a real igniter atop the Giants lineup for the last couple of nights. Doubled and tripled yesterday and scored on both of those occasions. He's in scoring position to start the first for Brandon Belt. The first-time All-Star, 2 for 10 so far to start this division series.
One thing to look for John Lackey, of course, he's not going to get rattled. Whether he executes or not won't be because of nerves. But he's going to have an array of pitches: fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and he will sink it in his fastball. And he will drop arm angles from time to time if the situation calls for it.
Belt sends a drive out to center field. Drifting into left center is Fowler. Span will tag up. Into third with one away. And was able to just stay anchored on the third base bag.
Good throw by Fowler, made it close, and just in case he couldn't hang on to the bag.
Infield in for Chicago, and that'll bring up Buster Posey. 5 for 13 so far in the series after a big night in Game 3 yesterday.
They might want to change up the approach with Posey. He stayed up the middle. Look for them to throw fastballs in and up if the count calls for it to change his eye level. There's a little drop down fastball. Something he's done a lot more of this year than in years past, has Lackey.
Last night passed Barry Bonds on the franchise all-time leaderboard for postseason runs batted in. An opportunity for one early here tonight. 2-1.
The pitch that Lackey likes to go to, and the area that he likes to go to, is away from a right-hander, but it's his slider is the signature pitch. Most of his strikeouts are going to be to the right hand of Ross. So away from a right-handed batter in the area of his right shin guard. Right there, he'll get a lot of swings and misses if he's ahead in the count, establishing his fastball and going to his breaking ball.
Yeah, not only has John Lackey used that pitch a lot, it's really been a terrific pitch for him this year. An opponent's OPS of 321 on the slider, the lowest mark against anybody's slider in baseball. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes after some diplomacy between Buster Posey and the home plate umpire Marvin Hudson.
And Lackey has not given in on this count. 3-2, a 103 batting average against on this count.
Posey into right field. Hayward back on it to make the catch. Tagging up at third is Span. Throws not even close, and the Giants are on the board first.
You're the Giants. This is what you want. Execute early. Put some stress on Lackey and the Cubs. Plenty of distance. Hayward just doing his best effort to heave it.
Derek Law, who was such an animated cheerleader last night, back into it again this evening. Here's Hunter Pence now. For coverage of this game in Spanish, by way of reminder, please tune in to Fox Deportes.
As usual, Pence never sees a first pitch he doesn't like for the most part. Typically, as a pitcher in a game like this, you want to try, when no runners are on base, to pitch the guy completely different than you will when runners are on base. So you see fastballs early here to Pence, but if any runners are on or stressful situation, he is going to throw him sliders and curveballs.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Hunter Pence. We mentioned Marvin Hudson, the home plate umpire tonight. 6-man crew in the postseason. Crew chief John Hirschbeck working first base. There were a couple of reviewed plays last night, one of which took quite a long time. And a wave and a miss. It's a slider that takes care of Hunter Pence. But for the first time in this series, the Giants are the first to score. One with a Game 5 between the Dodgers and Nationals, and if necessary, Game 5 between the Giants and Cubs at Wrigley Field. Then on Friday, Game 1 of the ALCS on TBS. The Indians have announced no starter yet officially. The Toronto Blue Jays, starting the series on the road, will announce, they've already announced, that it's going to be the changeup artist Marco Estrada that gets the ball for John Gibbons on Friday in Cleveland. Addison Russell leads things off in the visitors' half of inning number 2. Back with John Smoltz and Ken Rosenthal. Matt Vasgersian in San Francisco. The Giants get on the board in the first on a Buster Posey sacrifice fly that brought in Denard Span. And it's a ball and a strike on Addison Russell. So this Nationals-Dodgers series certainly got a lot more interesting, with LA plating a bottom of the 8th inning run this afternoon. And Dave Roberts has a lot of different scenarios he's kicking around for a Game 5 starter. Dusty Baker has announced Max Scherzer, which you'd expect. Julio Urias is a possibility. The rookie left-hander. Rich Hill is a possibility, the veteran left-hander. We'll be learning of those choices in the next couple of days. Russell sends a fly ball to left. This is going to stay in the ballpark for Blanco, and there's one away.
Dave Roberts just glad he's got possibilities getting to that point.
You bet. It looked a little dicey there for a moment for the Dodgers today.
Well, for Matt Moore, if he's going to be effective, he's going to have a lot of foul balls, meaning his fastball is going to be good and beat a lot of hitters. His last start, 27 foul balls against the Dodgers.
Here's Jason Hayward now. 1 for 8 in the series so far.
24 to be exact. Jason Hayward prefers a four-seamer over a sinker from a left-hander.
go, Matty! There you go!
And Hayward lifts a fly ball into shallow center. Crawford backing up from shortstop to make the catch. You know, those were the two lineup choices that we were most curious to hear Joe Madden discuss before the game. Starting Hayward and David Ross today. A lot of us thought Wilson Contreras would be behind the plate. And to hear Joe Madden tell it, he knows Matt Moore as well as anybody, having managed him in Tampa St. Pete for a number of years to begin Moore's career. And he felt like Jason Hayward might be able to get on top of a higher fastball because Matt Moore doesn't throw as hard post Tommy John surgery as he did when he broke in 2011. Here's Javi Baez now. Baez has been the big offensive contributor for Chicago so far in this series. 5 for 12 with a home run. Oh, and he's played outstanding defense up the middle of the boot. 2-0.
That's the pitch. He loves going inside to right-handers. And once he can establish himself in there, then he'll mix in later in the game. He'll mix in the changeup. He's already done a good job. First inning, 12 off-speed pitches, 11 fastballs against an aggressive Chicago lineup.
3-0 now. The base on balls has been a part of Matt Moore's portfolio in the past as David Ross waits on deck.
This will be a green light situation, I imagine.
Green light, swing, and a fly ball into very shallow center for Denard Span. A trio of fly balls make for very quick work for Matt Moore in the second. To the bottom half of the second, 1-0 San Francisco. Brandon Crawford, Connor Gillespie, and Joe Panik, three left-handed swingers against John Lackey here in the second inning. Brandon Crawford, one of the heroes yesterday, 3 for 13 in the series. He and Joe Panik teaming up yesterday with the big hits in the 13th to stave off elimination yet again. 10 consecutive elimination game victories for the Giants in the postseason. They keep furthering a major league team record. And according to Bruce Bochy, with whom we visited before the game, not a one of them was more exciting than last night's. Bochy's not a guy that likes to rank things in terms of best or second best. He just said that it was one of his most favorite.
It still has me shaking my head with all that was at stake, and the 3-run homer by a pitcher in the second inning. Cubs didn't score anymore until the ninth.
Still the ball and 2 strikes to Brandon Crawford. Connor Gillespie looked like the hero yesterday, and those heroics putting Bruce Bochy in pretty good company. Consecutive wins in elimination games short of the cigar. There are some similarities in the kind of countrified wisdoms of Bruce Bochy and Red Auerbach. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Crawford. A pass that Brandon would like to take back, a swing and a miss. That's the second strikeout for John Lackey tonight.
There's that slider in the favorite part of the plate. Doesn't matter if it's a right-hander or a left-hander. See right here, he drops it in the back foot. See where the target is. A little bit of a big circle when you see those seams coming together, but the depth was good enough. John Lackey hadn't started a game in quite some time, so the first inning you can understand some of the touch issues. Now that he's in the flow of the game, I would expect him to be as if he pitched 5 days ago.
There's Connor Gillespie now. 2 big hits in this series. Had the big 3-run home run in the wild card game last week to beat the Mets. I don't know that there's been a player that's had fewer than 200 at-bats during the regular season make as big an impact in a division series as Connor Gillespie has for the Giants this year. And as we say hello to Ken Rosenthal again, it's been some kind of journey for a guy that was chosen originally as a relatively high draft pick by the Giants. Kenny?
That's right, Matt. He was in the same draft class as Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford in 2008. Actually beat both those players to the major leagues, but it didn't go quite as smoothly from there.
That's going to be a tough play. And Gillespie's aboard.
The Giants traded Gillespie to the White Sox in 2013. He got designated for assignment twice last season, then returned to the Giants on a minor league contract at the start of this season, actually right before spring training. Now, it was interesting after the wild card game to hear him speak about his journey. He said that as a young player, he was immature, took the game for granted, and last offseason, he decided that baseball no longer would be #1 in his life, that he would no longer let an offer affect the relationships with the people that he cared most about. And adopting that mindset, interestingly enough, that enabled him to feel less pressure.
He's aboard after that roller stayed fair for Joe Panik. That's an interesting perspective. It's the old try less perspective. That, I mean, I think it's Greg Maddux when I think of that in terms of how he pitched on the mound, but I guess Connor Gillespie applying that to a lot of things. 0-1 the count to Joe Panik. Panik had the big hit to win it last night. 4 for 7 so far in the series as he takes a strike.
Well, much like Panik, Gillespie both seem to have a short stroke to the ball. They do not have a lot of big movement when they're trying and going well at the plate. So therefore you have to maybe rely on a changeup because they use velocity to their asset. So when a guy throws 100 miles an hour and most guys are trying to hit it with a bigger swing, they actually utilize their power from the pitcher. And you saw that on display last night from Gillespie off the first time he's seen Chapman and the first time that he's seen a pitch over 100 miles an hour. That's incredible.
1 out and 1 on. 1 and 2 on Joe Panik. Two balls and 2 strikes to a player who was the toughest to strike out in the National League this year. Joe Panik struck out all of once every 9+ plate appearances. Together, stroke, stroke. Go ahead, John.
I was ready.
2 ball and 2 strike count to Panik.
That's a great take and a frustration for a pitcher when you feel like you made the right pitch and the guy takes it like that. Looks like a fastball, but dives down in that one spot that he's trying to get all the left-handed to swing over the top of it.
Guy that doesn't walk many against a guy that doesn't strike out very often. Runner goes, and Panik shoots it into left field. Gillespie unable to get past second despite the head start. And the Giants have something cooking in the second.
An encouraging sign if you're a Giants fan, because Panik has had a very subpar year, and lately he's starting to heat up. He's not doing too much. He's just doing exactly what we talked about in that short stroke, taking what the pitcher's given him. The Giants offense needs to get going if they've got a long run in them again this year.
First and second with 1 away for Gregor Blanco. Blanco again getting the nod in left field in favor of Angel Pagan, who's dealing with back spasms for the 2nd straight day and unavailable again in Game 4. He's got Gillespie at second, Panik at first.
Blanco loves the ball away. I mean, that's what his swing type feeds. So they're going to try and jam him and throw curveballs just like that. Curveball is something he has yet to been able to stay off of and had no success this year on curveballs. So when you stay ahead and get ahead, it's been hard for him to lay off of it.
Pitcher spot due up next. Matt Moore on deck. So for John Lackey, a part of the lineup that he should be able to navigate through. Another wrinkle. That one fouled away again, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, that one he hung. You just got to adjust off of this. You see the breaking ball grip, right? And then just see how it stays up over the middle of the plate. Blanco trying to stay on the ball, fighting off. You got to have this ball bounce.
Come on, Blanco. You got him.
The next 0-2 pitch bounces, and Blanco able to lay off. David Ross has already been quite busy behind the plate tonight. You know, that was another part of Joe Maddon's decision to catch Ross tonight that I found interesting. We know John Lackey to be pretty emotional, and the veteran catching presence of David Ross was something that Joe thought Lackey would benefit from tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's going to be a few moments where you're going to see John Lackey show his competitive grit and displeasure for something.
Got him looking. That's 3 strikeouts for Lackey tonight.
This one he gets Blanco just guessing right here. Good pitch on the inner part of the plate. But make no mistake about it, teammates love John Lackey. It's not out of showing people up, although sometimes that's what it's going to look like. It's just a competitive fire that burns a little bit hotter.
Matt Moore bounces the first pitch to Anthony Rizzo, and Lackey pitches out of it. 2 runners left stranded through 2. 1-0 San Francisco. In moment with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. It's the only place to get it all. Radio feeds, video highlights, pitch tracking, StatCast, and more. Download At Bat, as that gentleman is today. David Ross opens the 3rd for Chicago. 8-9 in top of the order against Matt Moore. Ross, Lackey, and Fowler. David Ross doing more than just receiving John Lackey in this series. He sends a high fly ball to left. That one well hit. Blanco can't bring it back. David Ross has made it a 1-1 ball game.
I was just getting ready to say David Ross against left-handers has really struggled against the 4-seam fastball. And there they throw him a changeup. I know it's not a ton of numbers, but he's hitting 500 off a changeup. You sped up his bat before you could find out whether or not he could handle the 4-seam fastball. So right away, that move of Madden pays off. And Ross goes deep.
Here's John Lackey now. Yeah, doing more than catch John Lester, doing more than just kind of serving as the psychoanalyst for John Lackey. He's come through with some big moments at the plate this year for Chicago. It's his 2nd career postseason home run. Hit one as a Brave back in 2012 in the National League wildcard game. Now, how about that? The oldest Cub to hit a postseason dinger. Big swing by John Lackey.
That's so huge in more than one way. When you get to this lineup in any point in the game, especially postseason, you got 8-9-1. That's like the dream of a pitcher, because typically, unless it's some of the Cubs pitchers who have done damage, you're looking at an easier inning to get out of. Even if the 8th hole hitter gets a hit, the pitcher's going to bunt. Getting them out and then resetting that lineup to where you face the leadoff hitter with 2 outs. You play the lineup game to your advantage.
Meanwhile, are you looking at the swings John Lackey's taking? Not so much that one, but it's as though he's been watching all these Cub pitchers hit home runs the last few nights, saying he wants his.
Look, this may be the biggest pitching staff in baseball. You're talking about guys who height, weight, BP power. Well, one guy.
And a big swing and a miss finishes off the at-bat. Let's take it back to the Ross home run.
You're going to see this changeup just spin right there in the middle of the plate. That backspin he creates launches it way up in the air.
Just the 6th home run allowed by Matt Moore as a Giant at covering 12+ starts. And here's Dexter Fowler now back to the top of the order. You know, another note on Ross and Lackey, they had not worked together since before the All-Star break. Their last start together was back on July 5th. So Joe Maddon did in fact surprise many of us by writing David Ross's name on the lineup card tonight.
Well, look, I mean, I think he was pretty honest by saying I value 2 positions for defense mostly. And those 2 positions were going to be right field and catcher. Everybody else would have to pick up the slack offensively. But with the pitcher on the mound, the defense in this ballpark, we've already seen some huge plays, not only last night, but the ability for Triples Alley and the ball to get by the outfielders in this park is about as good as any other park in baseball.
Fowler sends a comebacker back to Moore, who smothers it and then almost yanks the throw. But Fowler is retired for route number 2. The bottom of the lineup, the pitchers in particular in this series, have really been effective for Chicago. Here's Chris Bryant now. 7 through 9 hitters for Chicago have 8 runs batted in. That is more than all the 1 through 6 hitters combined.
See, and that's amazing, because if I'm sitting here looking at a lineup card and I'm getting ready to face the Cubs, I am not letting this guy or the guy on deck beat me, period. I don't care if I have to walk them in situations where the guy's behind him. And what you just said, from basically 6 on down, that's where I'm going to go to A, get my strikeouts, or B, get some outs. And so far in this short series, they've come up pretty huge.
A ball and a strike to count to Bryant. Anthony Rizzo next with a run in, bases empty and 2 away.
I know we've talked about this before, Matt, but I'm just talking as a pitcher. If I see a lineup with Bryant 3rd and Rizzo 4th, I'm fearing that lineup a lot more, meaning it has a chance to be longer with Zobrist in the 2-hole. But because Bryant has been in the 2-hole the entire year and had success, they're staying with that formula as an obvious note throughout the playoffs.
A swing and a miss. Nothing further after the Ross home run. Well, David Ortiz and Mark Teixeira may have gotten more fanfare among retiring players, but none has had a bigger impact in the fall than David Ross. We're tied at 1. Ford's on and out. Denard Span leads things off in the home 3rd, top of the order for San Francisco. Back to a draw, 1-1 tie after the David Ross home run in the top of the inning. Span, Belt, and Posey. Span doubled and scored in the 1st. There's a ball smothered by Baez. Ridiculous throw and a ridiculous play. Come on! That's barely humanly possible. I mean, this guy is some kind of special defender, America.
I don't know if it's going to stand, but oh my.
Look, he didn't just throw out Steve Balboni. Denard Span can run. That was unbelievable.
His awareness, throws a 1-hopper.
They are taking another look.
can't teach, obviously, and that's why they're so high on this young man and his ability to play multiple positions. Wow.
So when he got the glove on the ball, you may have been thinking what I was thinking, John, and that, wow, this is a great effort, but he's going to be safe.
Yeah. I think ultimately he is going to be safe, but man.
Again, fans reacting to the replay. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to tell one way or another.
But we were wrong yesterday.
Oh, so. I'm not even going to speculate. I'm not venturing a guess. Let's take a look at some Javi Baez defensive wares, shall we? Game 3 of this series. Last night, almost the same exact play. That one was also reviewed. Makes a habit of this. And we have a ruling. Apparently this one's overturned. Span safe despite the nearly impossible acrobatics of Javier Baez. So it's an infield single for Span that leads off the third.
The shift will be on, so that means Bryant in the second base hole.
Brandon Belt into the opposite field. Zobrist retreats to make the catch. Didn't take him very long to come back and overturn that call, by the way, after the really pregnant pauses of last night.
Well, when I mentioned at the plate, Lackey, he's a trio of 3 big pitchers: Lester, Lackey, Arrieta, and even Hamill. We talk about 4. Their stride length when they release the ball is longer than average, and so far makes it seem like their velocity is firmer to the hitter. But with that length and with that time that it takes to go to home plate, you can steal on all of the Cubs starters. 15 out of 20 stolen bases against Lackey. And we've been talking about this all series, but we really have yet to see it come into play. The Giants don't run a ton, but if you have any advantage to take, this is it.
Span with 12 stolen bases in 19 attempts during the regular season, and so much of what little running game the Giants have is in the form of Eduardo Nunez, who can't run right now because of the hamstring problem. He's only pinch hitting these days. So Bruce Bochy, as much as he'd like to go, just doesn't have the horses to run as often as the Giants would care to. A strike to Posey, and it's 2-1.
Well, I mean, they tried it in game 1. First guy gets on via the bunt, and then Gorky Hernandez gets thrown out because he didn't really get the jump that you need to get against John Lester, because everybody at some point still thinks he might throw over to first base for the first time. John Lester gets rid of it to home pretty quick for a left-hander. But I guess my point is the numbers are the numbers, and you got to at some point force the issue and make the Cubs feel some kind of pressure for getting runners on and putting them in scoring position.
You steal it.
2 balls and a strike to Buster Posey. Let's take you back to the play that Baez made, the almost play. Amazing effort. And it had to be reviewed. And then watch the respect of Denard Span, right? Denard Span has a great reputation of playing the game the right way, respecting the game, and there's a great little piece of video evidence of it.
Buster, you up, Buster, let's go. Buster!
2 balls and 2 strikes with Span off first. There he goes. Ross's throw down to second is in time to get him.
You gotta be kidding me. This is a growing admiration for one of the best young players who can do it all. Look at his tag. He gets in position, and the throw one hops him. That's the only way they get him. Huge jump.
David Ross could not have walked it out there and put it in a better spot. And to your point, John, Joe Madden has been talking up Javi Baez's tag abilities all year long. 2 gone now, and a full count pitch on its way to Buster Posey. If we have a chance to do so, we'll extend the thought here. And there's ball 4. So this is what we're talking about. And it sounds odd to have a manager talking up a guy's tagging ability, but watch what Baez can do on the receiving end of these caught stealings. Incredibly quick, incredible hands. And until you watch a rip of some of this, I mean, that's just hocus pocus right there.
That's ridiculous.
Not to mention, he is fearless at the bag. Here's Hunter Pence now. So until you see some of that, you might think that Joe Madden is just doing a Sparky Anderson and talking up his guy so he gets Heisman votes, right?
Yeah.
Not the case.
It is not the case. It's a gift. But that's still the right play. That's what the Giants have to do. It took a perfect throw and tag.
Banks with a drive, well hit to center field. Fowler back at the wall to end the inning. A lot going on there in the bottom of the 3rd. At the end of it, it's still a 1-1 tie. People affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. To support those impacted by Hurricane Matthew, text Matthew to 90999 to give $10 to American Red Cross Hurricane Relief.
What you just saw right there is why that young man's hands are so good. Tried to drop that piece of gum and couldn't do it, or whatever he was eating.
Anthony Rizzo leads things off to start the visitors' 4th.
Later or something.
A reminder, people affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now to support. Yeah. Had to hear me read the pop again for the American Red Cross, too.
I thought I was interrupting you and your mouth wasn't moving.
No.
Go, more. Get it
Anthony Rizzo drew base on balls in the 4th. A small movement forward for him. First time he's reached base in a postseason game since Game 4 of the 2015 NLCS. We've already talked about his 0 for 13 here. Takes a strike and it's 2-1. There was no sign of worry or concern when we asked Joe Madden about Rizzo's series so far. And why would there be? Drove in a career-high 109 runs this year. And along with Chris Bryant is a leading contender for NL MVP honors. He just happens to have had a slow start to this series.
Take the black stuff off your eyes. Come on, 24. Do what you do best. Strike out. Go.
And he wants to think about it. You know, you wonder if part of Rizzo's trouble isn't this ballpark. This is his least favorite place to swing the bat statistically.
Come on, Rizzo.
Just 10 for 69 in 19 games in this ballpark with 23 strikeouts. That's a batting average of under $1.50.
And sometimes it can be that simple. You don't like the batting ground behind. You don't like what your eyes see or what fits your eyes in a particular ballpark.
The next 2-2. And it's a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, it's that way sometimes on the mound too. It just doesn't fit your eye when you're seeing certain components that you don't like.
Here we go. Let's go.
The 3-2. And there's Rizzo's first base hit of the series. Oh, you knew he was due. The start of good things may have come from those tough takes in the first inning, John. We talked about it. He drew the walk, spit on some pitches that he was biting on earlier in the series. And he's able to straighten out a 3-2 pitch to get on base.
Yeah, that was better. His foot was down, not as much movement. And as you mentioned, we talked about him expanding the zone, better at locating the pitch he wants to hit. Short of asking for the ball, you could tell that he was excited about getting that hit.
Right. He's still having a good time, giving his first base coach Brandon Hyde a big hug. Here's Ben Zobrist now, leadoff hitter aboard in the Cubs' fourth. Addison Russell waiting on deck with the leadoff hitter aboard. Zobrist shortens up and lays off. It's 2-0.
It's funny, I asked Buster Posey about the hitting background at Wrigley. He does not like hitting at Wrigley Field. And certain guys in the hitting background, depending on what they see or don't see, don't lock in and are able to give their best at that particular field. I know not too far from here, Candlestick was not one of my favorite because of the weather. This park so much better as far as the weather and the winds.
2 balls and no strikes to Zobrist. You just get the sense that this Cubs lineup, that despite a couple of wins in 3 games, has been so quiet, is on the verge of breaking out. This was such a loud lineup throughout the year. A plus 252 run differential. Yet they started play tonight batting only .202 in the series.
Well, and that's going to happen. I mean, you're going to face the best of the best, and traditionally over 162 games, you're going to get some 4s and 5s that are not going to be on their game, and your lineup's going to win out. In a short series, those who can be the patient the most and not get carried away with a slow start are going to have success. But it's so magnified, right, when you get to the postseason.
Well, that patience is a big part of their success. A franchise record walk total this year. Full count to Zobrist now. Moore again out of the stretch. The full count pitch got him. That's 5 for Matt Moore tonight.
That was one of the first at bats that it looked like Zobrist was awkward and almost guessing what kind of pitch. Off balance right there on a fastball. You don't see that too often. Looking to bunt, squaring up the count to make it 3-1 in his favor. Swinging at a pitch outside the strike zone. The first time I've seen him a little out of balance and uncomfortable.
1 out, 1 on for Addison Russell now.
Russell just begging to get a fastball that he can launch, picking up that leg. They've been crowding Russell and mixing it up, making it tough for him as he is an aggressive hitter. You see the numbers there, only 1 for 13 in this postseason, but he was struggling coming down the stretch as well.
Yeah, last 21 games for Addison Russell. The return's not as robust as they had been in the middle of the summer when Joe Maddon moved him into the number 5 spot, and Russell took off. 21 home runs, 95 RBIs, but in his last 21 games, including the postseason, he's hitting under 150 with 13 strikeouts.
He definitely doesn't like the curveball, as you saw the one that was bounced right in front of him. That, however, is what he likes, the fastball up. That one just beating him a little bit to the barrel.
You know, back to the point you were making about the Cubs and patience. Their lineup this year averaged 4 walks a game. Again, they set a franchise record for walks this year. In the postseason so far, in this series, they've drawn a total of 6 walks in 3+ games. Again, the quality of pitching's different. I get that. But the results just haven't been the same.
I don't know why Matt Moore is paying so much attention to Rizzo, but he's drawing his attention away from the hitter.
Fouled at the plate. It's still 1-2.
Good job, Matt. Way to go.
See, this is where it's been tough on Russell. You do not have to throw him another strike. It's 1-2. And if you just get it close enough, he will expand the zone, especially down and up. Curveballs give him all kinds of fit with 2 strikes.
The next 1-2 home. On the ground is shortstop. Crawford to Panic to Belt. They got them both. Nothing comes of the leadoff single. Fans arriving at the ballpark via various means, as per usual in San Francisco. The bay not quite as crowded in McCovey Cove as it was when Barry Bonds was depositing home run balls out there in the early 2000s. Not as many souvenir baseballs coming from a Giants team that didn't hit a lot of home runs this year, but one that has had more team success than the big home run hitting teams of past vintage. It's Brandon Crawford leading things off in the home 4th. Crawford, Gillespie, and Panic. In fact, the Giants home run leader this year, Brandon Belt, hit 17. And only one team had its leader hit fewer home runs and reached the postseason since 1969. Swing and a miss, and for John Lackey, that's 4 strikeouts tonight. Hey, T-Mobile One lets fans dig into the game with unlimited LTE data on their smartphones. Show us how you're a baseball fan by using #UnlimitedBaseball for a free MLB Shop gift code and the chance to win tickets to every 2017 World Series game. One gone for Connor Gillespie.
Well, for John Lackey, as we talked about, the terminology you're going to hear is a pitcher is really either good to his arm side of the plate or his glove side. And the glove side, which is closer to the left-handed batter, is where he is getting all his strikeouts. It's where he's getting his success, and it's where he's thrown a lot of those breaking balls that you're seeing the Giants not square up and swing and miss. The evidence of him, we can show you 4 of them that he's thrown in the game, and a trail for each one of them that we have documented. I'll show you that in a minute.
A ball and a strike, meanwhile, to Connor Gillespie, batting with 1 out and the bases empty.
So here's these pitches that you're looking at as the Giants have looked at video and they said, okay, we got to watch this side of the plate. That's where he's comfortable. That's where he gets his break, and he gets 75 of his strikeouts in that area outside the strike zone, and that has been a strength of John Lackey. And this year, as we mentioned in the open, his highest strikeout per 9 innings. He's not exactly a young chicken anymore, spring chicken.
Ball courtesy of PitchCast, powered by MLB Advanced Media. It's been a while since John Lackey'd been out there on the mound, too. It's a worthy point to bring up that John hasn't pitched since September 27th. He went 5 innings and allowed a run against the Pirates in a win, his final start of the year.
Yeah, and a simulated game doesn't do it any kind of justice, but you know he's been throwing along the way, working on stuff, waiting for his turn in the rotation.
Still 2-2 to Gillespie.
I've been in that spot before, 13 days before a postseason game against the Phillies, and I'll tell you, the first 2 innings feel awkward. You feel like, man, this has been spring training since the time has gone by. And then once you get through that, you start getting back to the season groove that you're in. Every time you go down and sit down and come back out, you just feel as fresh as if you've been in a 5-man rotation.
Gillespie into right. A A one-out single in the Giants' fourth. A reminder, tonight's telecast is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by Bud Light. Raise one to right now. Connor Gillespie hit a dribbler up the third baseline that was good for his first base hit tonight. Solid single into right makes him 2 for 2. And now it's Joe Panik. Off to a 5 for 8 start in this series.
What do you think? Next 6 years he still gets carded? Panik?
He has a very youthful kind of aw shucks disposition. And even yesterday when Ken Rosenthal talked to him right after delivering the big walk-off winning hit, Joe was calm and understated, as though he was discussing his exploits on the backfields in a Cactus League game in Scottsdale. Two 2-0. Kenny, did you get that sense talking to Joe yesterday? I mean, what does it take to get this guy excited?
He does have a low heartbeat, no question about it, Matt. It's been a trying year for him. He missed about a month with a concussion, never really got right in the second half. And just yesterday,
into right. Panik's at it again. Gillespie to third.
So, Matty, as I was saying, he had the concussion. That can affect a lot of things. Depth perception, eyesight, balance. And he was talking yesterday about how he didn't want to make excuses, but he was looking forward to the offseason, to resting, to getting back to who he was in 14 and 15. Well, the last 2 nights, looks like he's already there.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, this is a player that dropped 73 points from his batting average the previous year, but you'd never know it in watching Joe Panik swing the bat in this series.
All right, Gillespie's going to have to read if Blanco decides to do one of them safety squeeze. He's got to read it. And that's a play where it's not automatic, but he's just going to read on what Blanco does. It's one of the plays you can't defend. And if he gets the right area to bunt it, there'll be a run in, a runner at second, and 2 outs. Puts a lot of pressure on the defense of the Cubs, trying to charge in.
Strike on the corner. Gillespie and Panik aboard. Back-to-back one-out singles. 2-1.
Gillespie can get off the base as far as Bryant is away from the base defensively. That way, in case there's a snap throw after the pitch, he can get back. Now there's conversation there. Whatever sign they give to make everyone aware, Ross is going to talk with his pitcher.
Similar situation that Ross and Lackey navigated out of in the second. They had runners at first and second with 1 away, struck out Blanco, and then got more on a comebacker. First and third with 1 away here for those same 2 hitters.
Well, you don't think this way in terms if you're sitting at home going, there is a base open. It's just not at first, it's at second. You don't have to pitch to Blanco in a situation like this with the pitcher coming up with the bases loaded.
And maybe that's what we're watching. 3 balls and a strike now.
Now the hard part for Blanco is trying to guess what Lackey is going to do to him on a 3-1 pitch. Will he pitch to him?
The 3-1 home. He will not. Ball 4. Well, these are spots where John Lackey has been at his best this year as a Cub. His opponent's batting average with runners in scoring position is the 5th lowest in baseball, just $1.89. Tonight, the Giants are 0 for 3 RISP. But this will be his toughest high wire act yet, as the bases are loaded with 1 away. The gracing part of it for the Cubs is that it's the pitcher Matt Moore who takes a strike.
Yeah, and this situation is going to sound weird, but you either want him to strike out or hit a fly ball. You don't want Matt Moore, if you're a Giants fan, to hit the ball on the ground, because more likely it's a double play.
Especially not considering the guy we just saw on deck. Denard Span has been red hot the last couple of nights. He's got 2 hits this evening. Oh, and 2 to Moore. Base hit into right. Here's Gillespie to score, and the Giants reclaim the lead. An 0-2 pitch to the pitcher.
Why not, right? We've seen it all. We've seen the pitchers do their job. I said don't hit it on the ground, but he hit it on the ground in for a base hit. Lackey, an 0-2 fastball. A little surprised by that. And Cueto, give me a chance, he's saying. Get me ready to pitch in Chicago.
Matt Moore came into that plate appearance with a grand total of 1 career RBI.
And like I said, 0-2 fastball is too good of a pitch, even if he took the first 2.
Another look at Moore's RBI via PitchCast, powered by MLB Advanced Media. That gets the Cubs bullpen hot. Bases loaded, 1 away for Denard Span.
Denard Span heating up. You watch him when he's batting. His front hit is closed. It's already in position, and his upper body and hands just kind of coil.
To Rizzo. Into shortstop. Russell gets 1 throw to first, and Lackey can't finish the double play. The run scores. Boy, John did everything he could. He fell on the bag and just couldn't get it done in time. It's 3-1 San Francisco.
No matter how many times you practice this in spring training, a very difficult play for the pitcher. He's got to find the bag at the same time receiving a throw at about 90 miles an hour from Russell. And he just slips and gets his feet caught from underneath him. See how the cleats of the bag get on top of the bag, and that causes his feet to slip. And the speed of Denard Span.
Credit Span with an RBI. And now it's Brandon Belt, who has made a couple of loud outs tonight. Fly balls to center and to left. Boy, ever since the bottom of the 8th inning last night, John, this has been a completely different San Francisco lineup. They were limited to 2 runs on 12 hits in games 1 and 2 of the series. So far tonight alone, 3 runs on 7 hits.
Well, a lot of energy from last night's game spills over. Your pitcher comes out, sets the tone, puts up a 0. And then you get the lead. Even though it was tied back by the Cubs, it's the bottom of the order. Gillespie, panic. Now the pitcher.
3 balls and a strike to Belt. Buster Posey waiting on deck. Justin Grimm is hot and ready to go if needed. Belt to center field for Fowler, and that'll retire the side. Not before the Giants can play to fair. The range of emotions in a postseason game 4. 3-1 San Francisco. T-Mobile One, welcome to unlimited baseball. And by Lexus, see your Lexus dealer. One of the undeniable storylines of this series has been offensive contributions by pitchers. Home runs, RBIs, and kind of a walking, talking advertisement for abolishing the designated hitter. Jason Hayward leads off in the Chicago half of the 5th. Matt Moore working with his biggest lead of the night. Hayward, Baez, and Ross for the Cubs. Jason popped out to shortstop in his first at bat tonight. Sends that into center field. Span had him played well, and there's one away.
Yeah, that was about as unlikely of a scenario. 0-2, bases loaded. Matt Moore, of course, most of his time spent in the American League. Ho-hum, RBI single on a fastball away.
Here's Javier Baez now with one away. You know, Matt Moore came here in that deadline deal acquisition from Tampa Bay and turned in a number of starts with really mixed results. 12 starts as a Giant. His first 2, as that one's bounced out to shortstop. Gillespie has to dodge the bag, and Baez is safe at first, and more. Ball got by Brandon Belt somehow. Baez into third. But that'll be worth another look to try to determine what exactly went wrong.
Well, what right is the hustle for Baez. He's flat out getting after it, and you see the last minute by Crawford, little crow hop, little tap, and then he's got to get after it. Watch Baez right away. He is motoring, not taking anything for granted, and it pays off. And then he gets the second, looks back and says, I can get the third. Pence takes a while to get there, of course, because it was in no man's land, and the Cubs can draw one run closer.
Boy, you just get the sense that Javi Baez, after being guilty of a little Cadillacing in game 2, was not going to let that happen to him again. Against a third on the hustle error, if you will. And here's David Ross now with one away.
Ross hit that homer off a changeup. Any ball other than third base or first base scores a run on the ground. Middle of the infield playing back.
Ross a little late on a fastball that time, and it's 0-1.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised in the first time up, the selection of that changeup. I thought we'd see a lot of foreseen fastballs just trying to beat David Ross.
A rare Brandon Crawford defensive miscue. Just put a runner in third with one gun, and it's 0-2 Ross. I think even Brandon Belt would admit that though that ball was in the dirt, that's a play he usually makes.
Now, this is too aggressive of a swing for David now. He's going to have to find a way to put it in play and not rely on the next guy. Guy won't be John Lackey.
Jorge Soler on deck to pinch it next. Ross sends that one into shallow right. Pence comes on and makes the catch. Tagging at third is Baez, and one of those runs comes right back. That's a fine plate appearance by David Ross, who has driven in both of Chicago's scores tonight.
Yeah, that's unbelievable plate appearance after looking bad on a fastball to Bayou, a curveball way down and in. Look where he wanted it, up, and he painted it away. He gets that ball up. You see Posey at the last second. Like, oh man, he doesn't have a chance to do or get the bat on the ball as easily as he did there.
So Jorge Soler was standing in the on-deck circle, but now with the run in, Joe Maddon decides to rethink his choice of pinch hitters, and he selects Albert Almora Jr. Almora was a late replacement yesterday on a night when everybody was burned off the Chicago bench for the most part. Everybody but Tommy La Stella played yesterday. Yesterday, Almora made a terrific catch in right field. About 20 minutes after failing to make what would have been an even better play, one that gave the Giants the lead. He's behind here, a ball and 2 strikes, a run in with 2 away. Let's take a look at it via StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services.
Well, he gets 58 feet, as you see, but the timing of the play, an easy double play, and he got a great jump and basically almost a perfect route when you consider the circumstances and where the ball was going. So kept that game going. You see the emotion.
The next 1-2 to him is again fouled away.
That's what I thought we'd see tonight. Fastballs fouled off by Cubs hitters just because the fastball velocity. But the more important thing is he's mixed up his fastballs and off speed at a great rate tonight. Coming into this inning, he had thrown 33 fastballs and 34 off speed. Much different than the prototypical regular season game where he'll rely heavily on a fastball, especially the 4-seam.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Got him. The curveball accounting for strikeout number 6 for Matt Moore. It's back to a 1-run ball game. To the bullpen, meaning it's John Lackey's second shortest career postseason start, done after 4 innings. And Grimm goes to work on Posey, Pence, and Crawford. Justin pitched last night. In fact, every Cub reliever except for Carl Edwards Jr. got into the line yesterday. Faced 2 batters. And goes to work here trying to hold this at a 1-run deficit in the 5th. A ball and a strike to Posey.
Joe Maddon likes Justin Grimm, whether it's facing right-handers or left-handers. His stuff pretty darn good. He's hoping he can give him some length here, or at least a couple outs, to piecemeal this game together with the bullpen.
Posey with a topper. Grimm's got a barehanded in a hurry, and Rizzo with some fine footwork on the receiving end gets it done for route number 1. A reminder, postseason baseball continues on FS1 with a Game 5 between the Dodgers and Nationals, and if necessary, a Game 5 of this series on Thursday. The American League Championship Series starts on TBS Friday night. The Blue Jays and Indians in Cleveland. Earlier we talked about the Dodgers winning in the bottom of the 8th inning at home today to even up that series with the Nationals. Not sure as to what Dave Roberts was going to do for a Game 5 starter. We have since learned that it will be Rich Hill that draws Max Scherzer Thursday in D.C. Here's Hunter Pence now with one away.
National League is playing out kind of how I thought it would when you think about how good these series are and the matchups. American League took a different route.
Yeah, two sweeps rather. They're of 3 and outs. Not a lot of drama there. But yesterday was one of those days in postseason baseball. 3 games yesterday. Our game here certainly went a long way in furthering this dialogue, but there were 35 pitchers that pitched in the 3 games yesterday, and none of the 6 starters got more than 18 outs. Arrieta's 6 was the longest start yesterday, and I think increasingly, John, that is more and more becoming the norm in the postseason.
Yeah, it may be becoming the norm, but I don't think it's sustainable, but we'll find out. I mean, baseball has really taken, as we look at this, a lot of body movement, couldn't hold it up. Hunter Pence.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Pence. I mean, look at John Lackey tonight. You know, you've got the guy who's pitched more postseason innings than any active pitcher in the game. He's done after 4. Again, in a National League environment, it's not unusual to see that, but you see it so often, so much more often in the postseason. And Pence has a base hit up the middle. Finally, something to show for some really good at-bats by Hunter Pence in this series.
Yeah, if you're wondering, he may have the strongest front leg, and he looks like he's always off balance, but he's so strong. And his hands, all the activity that he has, watch him just look. You don't teach this. Don't emulate this at home, but he has a unique way of finding contact and utilizing that contact with power, even if it looks like he's got roller skates on.
He is Gene Wilder meets the Reverend Jim Ignatowski with a lot of athletic ability. Here's Brandon Crawford now. A swing and a drive well hit into right. Hayward back, feeling for the wall, and it's off the top of the wall. Pence had to freeze, gets as far as 3rd, and a booming double by Brandon Crawford puts runners in scoring position with 1 away.
This was craziness right here. They're going to find out and see if that ball was across or just hit the slanted top of the wall. And I think Hunter Pence missed second base. This ball's crushed, by the way. You're going to see a couple things. There's the ball that hits off that slanted piece. Didn't hit the fence, maybe. They're going to check. But when this thing ricochets back in the field, Pence was looking back, and I think he missed second. And then had to hurry up and get to 3rd base because he easily could have scored.
Yeah, they're going to take another look at this for sure.
So watch Pence right here. See, he's looking. He thinks it might be caught, and then he's not sure whether he stepped on the bag or not, and goes back to tag it again. And then if Baez comes up with that, who knows what happens at 3rd base. But nonetheless, as it stands right now, 2nd and 3rd, I think that's the way it's going to stay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those are really tough boundary calls, but that's a great look at the ball that almost amazingly only hits that top cement. The ball hits the green railing just inches past the cement. It's a home run.
Credit to those fans for not reaching out and letting it play.
Oh, that's been a problem here in postseasons of the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, the call's upheld. It is a double for Brandon Crawford. And it looks like Joe Maddon's going to go out and get Justin Grimm.
That's a good look right here, and you see the angle throws it right back into play, and then the craziness starts with Pence. It looked to me like he stepped in the middle of the bag and then went back as if he, watch right here, he stops to see if Hayward's going to catch it, then he steps on the middle of it, and then he goes, wait, did I get it? Yeah, now I got it.
Got to check all the boxes. A pitching change. Giants rallying, and we'll be right back. Open again for Chicago. Their second reliever of the inning is the veteran left-hander Travis Wood.
Interesting decision by Joe Maddon. He's going to play the infield back with runners on second and third and one out.
Connor Gillespie has a couple of singles to his credit tonight. He has scored one of the 3 Giant runs.
Telling me he's got confidence in his offense. He's going to give up 1 run for an out if the ball's on the ground and not create a bigger inning.
Gillespie into right center. It's down for a base hit. Here's Pence to score. San Francisco back on top by 2. Connor Gillespie does it again.
Stays on this ball, does a nice job, gets it off the end of the bat. 3 for 3 now on the night, and what was once tough to score on the Chicago Cubs bullpen, they've broken the seal. Starting with last night.
Here's Joe Panik now. Runners at the corners. By way of reminder, until the last of the 8th yesterday, the Giants bullpen had not scored against, or the Giants lineup had not scored against the Cubs bullpen all year. 34 innings worth. I got to get back to Connor Gillespie. You made the point earlier, John, that had it not been for the injury to Eduardo Nunez, Connor Gillespie would not have been put in the position he's been in this postseason, and he has taken full advantage of the chance. During the regular season, he was 5 for 22 against left-handed pitching. In this series, he's 3 for 8.
I mean, it's not the same fair comparison, but a backup quarterback behind a stud, and then he gets a chance to play, and he has that monster game. It changes their career. And who knows the destiny for this young man as he moves forward. The Giants thought about enough of him to bring him back after drafting him and then trading him.
Joe Panik is as locked in over these past couple of games as he has been all season long.
And that's the only thing that was going to keep the Giants alive in this series, is if they could muster up enough offense. They had been second half, one of the worst second halves for a team that had the best record in the first half. Their offense went dormant, then it picked up at the end, and then of course they ran into some monster pitching in the wild card game and John Lester. Now it's picking up again.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Panik.
See, to me, that's a great take. You're sitting at home going, well, that was easily a ball. No, when it came out of his hands, it was a strike. And when a hitter gets locked in, he doesn't expand the zone and get aggressive or jumpy. The problem is they said Panik was too passive early on in the year, and now he's able to get the balance between aggression and that short stroke.
Cubs bullpen busies again. The only Chicago reliever that didn't get in there last night, Carl Edwards Jr., and he's up. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Joe Panik. there a chance Gillespie's running here on 3-2 with one away?
I would think so. A lot of faith and panic.
Into the opposite field. Zobrist under it to make the catch. Tagging up at third is Crawford. And the Giants add on again. Fine plate appearance by Joe Panik, who, as is the case with Gillespie, is saving his best work against left-handers for the most important time on the calendar.
See, I just don't think that the Giants organization runs into accidents. I think they scout this. I think they know the player they want, and they have a team full of hard to strike out baseball players. That's why the rings show what they do. It's another reason why Kansas City was successful when they were in their run. There is a formula to success. And the Giants have been able to develop more players in that system than a lot of other teams.
There's Gregor Blanco now. 2 runs in, a runner aboard with 2 out. Just saw the Giants brain trust a moment ago. Brian Sabian, Bobby Evans, and Dick Tidrow. And they have built quite a beast in the National League. Team president Larry Baer. Now ball and 2 strikes on Blanco now.
Not to mention, they're going to have their pitching staff together for a while. I mean, they've got all their guys coming back. And if they got to find a bat or two, they try to always look for that. But Matt Moore, that's the big reason the trade, to give up a young player like Matt Duffy. They got a controllable Matt Moore.
And Matt Duffy seemed like he was cut right out of the Giant cloth. The kind of guy that this front office, to your point, has made it a point to go out and get. But when they traded for Matt Moore, they had an eye on, sure, the postseason, sure, the rest of the season, but they had one eye on the Dodgers with their well-documented deficiencies against left-handed pitching. And at the time Moore was acquired, they still had 3 series left with LA, who they thought they'd be in a dogfight with. As it turns out, the Giants eked into the wild card. Dodgers ended up winning the division handily. But the decision to go get Matt Moore helped them not only head-to-head with Los Angeles, but it is paying big dividends on a night like tonight. And they hated like crazy to part with Matt Duffy. On a hop to third for Bryant. He goes the short way to cut down Gillespie. Not before 2 more can score for San Francisco. 5-2 Giants. Welcome back to San Francisco on a beautiful night for baseball. The Bay Bridge lit up and resplendent, as is AT&T Park. Backdrop for a 5-2 Giants lead in the middle innings. Top half of the 6th inning. Matt Moore back to work with his biggest cushion of the night. And it'll be the top of the order once more for Chicago. Fowler, Bryant, and Rizzo.
Well, the Cubs need Fowler to do what Denard Span has done for the Giants. He's got to get on base and set the table, because this is the top of the lineup that really puts stress on a pitcher, especially when he gets on base.
Team that led the National League in on-base percentage this year. Pitchers have done all they can do swinging the bat. And there's ball 4 to Fowler. Hey, tomorrow on The Herd, Dana White will be live in studio. There's always fireworks when Dana sits down with Collins, so you won't want to miss it. Tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, only on FS1.
So here's the interesting cat and mouse game. Normally when a guy throws 4 straight fastballs for a ball, the second hitter takes it, trying to see if there's a strike. I wouldn't here. For Bryant, stay aggressive, pick out a fastball, and try to drive it. They're not even going to throw him a first pitch fastball.
Bryant struck out twice tonight. That's 2 of the 6 strikeouts for Matt Moore this evening. He's got Fowler aboard to set the table. It's something that Cub fans have heard all too infrequently in this series. Five straight balls for Moore. You know, we were getting ready to talk about this before some action interrupted the thought last inning, but when Matt Moore was acquired by the Giants, they might have wondered exactly what they had bought, because his first 2 starts after coming from Tampa each involved a bunch of walks. He walked 11 batters in his first 2 starts, and there was kind of a collective uh-oh, what happened around here. Well, he straightened it out to the point where he was 1 at-bat away from a no-hitter the end of August.
There's Mr. Energy getting ready.
Derek Law. He's been fun to watch down there. And that's 6 straight balls. Anthony Rizzo showing some real signs of coming back around tonight. He has walked and singled. And Moore trying to navigate this dangerous part of the Cubs lineup. It's 3-0. You start wondering how much of this Dave Righetti and Bruce Bochy are willing to watch in an elimination game.
Well, that last inning took 22 minutes, so part of that rhythm change, even though his team scored him 2 runs, it was 22 minutes he was sitting on in the dugout.
There's a strike. 7 straight balls open the inning, but it's 3-1 now to Chris Bryant.
Be awfully careful if you're Matt Moore here. 1 base at a time, even if you mess up, versus 2 bases if you make the wrong pitch.
A flare out to shallow right. Pence coming in fast, but it drops in front of him. Throwing to second base in time to get Fowler, who had to freeze between the bags. That's a great heads-up play by Hunter Pence. And Fowler got caught in no man's land.
Yeah, I'm not so sure once he decided. I know it's a tough read, right? He was going back for some reason. Right here, he's got to make that decision and go. Even if he catches it, he's going to be out back at first base. So he gets in no man's land right there. He's got to be able to go right away and just take that chance. Easier said than done. A tough read nonetheless, but a big play for the Giants.
Yeah, not 1 but 2 attaboys out of Matt Moore there, and now it's Rizzo again. 1 out, 1 on, and Rizzo takes a strike.
Well, you don't know what that does for a pitcher, and resets his whole focus on not being able to find the strike zone, throwing 1 strike, getting a bloop hit that was going to be first and second. Now he's a pitch away from a double play and getting out of the inning.
Well, the pitcher spot is due to lead off the next half inning. So it's clear that Bruce Bochy and Dave Righetti want to get through this top of the 6th inning with their starter. You know, the Giants were able to survive their bullpen difficulties yesterday in the form of the Romo home run. And the bullpen's held up well in this series, but remember the shaky September that the Giants relief corps had to endure. Oh, and 2 to Anthony Rizzo.
tell you what, Hunter Pence came in such a long way because you got to respect the depth and power of Bryant.
Got him. 7 strikeouts for Matt Moore tonight.
Changeup, lefty changeup to a lefty hitter. What a weapon it's become, and what a pitch you were never supposed to throw about 10 years ago.
There's Ben Zobrist now. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Was it that you weren't supposed to throw it, or most people didn't try to throw it?
I think just the thought of having that changeup go down and in to a left.
Yeah. Folks here thought that Zobrist swung the bat. They say he checked it. It's a ball and no strikes. Addison Russell waiting on deck with 2 away. Wrapped to third. Gillespie picks it and cuts down Bryant to retire the side. Matt Moore is all smiles tonight. Middle of the 6th. Giants on top 5-2. Start the bottom of the 6th inning. He is making his 3rd plate appearance of the night, and why not? He's been in command for most of the evening, having allowed just the 2 runs on 2 hits. This go-ahead hit, the first by a Giant pitcher in a postseason game since 1933, kids. Between the Giants and Cubs, some of these historicals that we're taking note of, you know, they predate just about all of us. And Moore playing with house money, swings and misses. There's 1 away for Wood.
Well, StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Service, is going to talk about how far he had to come. And I thought it was a long ways, and 68 feet is a long way. And at this point, once Fowler decided not to make a decision, he was going to be done either way, in my opinion. A tough read, but more importantly, Pence come flying in 68 feet. Takes a hit away, and a potential huge inning for the Cubs with runners on first and second, nobody out. Matt Moore was able to put a 0 up after that.
Here's Denard Span now. We got to do a StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services on Hunter Pence's hair.
Well, I can tell you this, that's US Open rough. If you drop a golf ball in there, you're not getting it out.
0-2 the count to Span. Justin Grimm worked a 1/3 of an inning. Gave up 2 earned runs on 2 hits. Wood came on to finish the 5th, working here with 1 away in the 6th. You know, we talked about how good the Cubs bullpen had been against the Giants all year, dating back to the regular season. Unscored upon against San Francisco, but it's been a little different story the last couple nights. And it's 2-2 to Denard Span now. Well, from behind in the count to a full count now. Denard Span has worked it back to 3-2. Man, it's been a really tough out the last couple of nights. Brandon Belt waiting on deck, hitless this evening. There is still a lot of time in this one, make no mistake. But you start thinking in the back of your mind a little bit more and more about a Game 5 in this series. It would be Thursday at Wrigley Field. We do know the Dodgers and Nationals need a Game 5 Thursday in D.C. Both of those games here on FS1. The ALCS begins Friday on TBS at 8 Eastern.
Well, you see that man right there? He would prefer to pitch Game 1, no doubt, of the next series. And so his thoughts, having been there many different times, you're sitting there, you can't pour too much into the game emotionally. You certainly want your team to win, but you got to prepare as if you're going to pitch the Game 5, and that's the way it looked like right now. On the other side, Johnny Cueto is all bubbles and giggles and can't wait to pitch a Game 5 because it didn't look like that was going to be a reality once they came to San Francisco. So two different emotions by two different pitchers.
And Span's caught looking.
This is just a perfect pitch on the corner. Spotted up. Nothing Span can do.
Well, if it gets to Thursday, it would be Johnny Cueto against John Lester, Part 2. Their first one was a beauty. Game 1 of this series, and it was the Javi Baez home run that was the difference. Brandon Belt with a drive into the opposite field for Ben Zobrist, and the side's retired in order for the first time by a Cub pitcher. Bud Light game summary as we start the 7th. David Ross hit a home run, the oldest as a Cub to hit one in the postseason. But other than that, the highlights have belonged to the Giants. Matt Moore has been terrific tonight. Once again, the left-handed hitting duo of Connor Gillespie and Joe Panik have been right in the middle of the offensive attack for San Francisco. 5-2 Giants starting the 7th. Addison Russell opens. Jason Hayward and Javi Baez follow as the Cubs are down to their last 9 outs tonight. A high pop just outside the cutout.
Well, to me, this whole game was set up by the game plan of Matt Moore in the first inning. 11 fastballs and 12 off speed. Now, that might not seem like much, but that's typically not what he does. And so against this aggressive fastball hitting Cubs lineup, he was able to set the tone the way he wanted to, mixing and matching, and he's done it brilliantly all night long.
Jason Hayward is hitless tonight. Boy, the Cubs' middle of the order has really been stymied by San Francisco pitching in this series. The 3 for 6 hitters for Chicago, 5 for 59. You know, should the Cubs fail to come back tonight, they can take some solace in knowing that after the All-Star break this year, they never lost 3 straight games. A ball and 2 strikes to Hayward.
5-game series, love them, hate them, like them, whatever your view is. It's such a mental challenge for the players. You feel great up 2-0. You just know you got to win 1 game. And then a night like last night unfolds.
And Hayward goes fishing. Can't catch up to it. Another strikeout for Matt Moore.
And then
8 for the San Francisco left-hander tonight.
Yeah, great job with the curveball, the off-speed pitches. You see the grip right there and the break. Hayward can't lay off of it, respecting the fastballs.
So with 2 gone and the base is empty now, it'll be Javier Baez for a 3rd time.
The point I was going to make, in the regular season, you'd never adjust your lineup based on 3 games. But in the postseason, you have so many scenarios that play out and get magnified. You almost wonder if you are forced to try to get your hotter guys up, and a Baez up in the lineup.
On the ground for Crawford. And last year's Gold Glove Award winner at National League shortstop puts the finishing touches on a 1-2-3. Matt Moore authored 7th. Buster Posey, Hunter Pence, and Brandon Crawford against a new pitcher for Chicago. Right-hander Carl Edwards Jr. was the only Cub reliever that did not get into the game yesterday. 2 stints with the big league club this year, performed very well down the stretch. Posey has walked and driven in a run tonight. Giants by 3. Chicago is 6 outs away from facing a Game 5 back at Wrigley Field on Thursday. There is something about this elimination game magic in San Francisco. Madison Bumgarner had put this team on his back on so many postseason occasions. It was the Giants that picked him up after a shaky start yesterday. You know, back in 2012, when San Francisco came back from an 0-2 deficit in the division series against the Reds, and all this elimination game madness started, it was a Game 3 extra innings win, just like last night. In Game 4, Ryan Vogelsong got the win, and I'm not sure there was a lot of confidence around him back then. But another great play by Baez. And then in Game 5 of that 2012 comeback, Buster Posey hit a grand slam. As we welcome you back inside, and there are some parallels between the way this Game 3 and 4 have gone in 2016 and what happened 4 years ago. Most notably the extra innings win that happened last night. You know, Matt Moore got the ball in Game 4, and as good as he was in spurts this year, he's not Madison Bumgarner, he's not Jake Arrieta, but he's been brilliant tonight. There are a lot of parallels here.
Well, there is, and I think Joe Maddon has prepared his team for this journey, right? I mean, everything that San Francisco is what the Cubs want to be, and he's embraced the target slogan because they've had the target since they got off to that hot start, and now San Francisco's imposing their will in games that you just mentioned don't make sense to the rest of the world, because you're not supposed to have this kind of success when there's that much pressure and not that much room for error.
A ball and no strikes to Hunter Pence. At what point tonight did John Lester start thinking about Thursday?
Oh, as soon as, I mean, he's been thinking about Thursday after last night with the possibility, but once they took the 2-run lead, now 3-run lead, you can't help but think about it. You sit there and you try to engage in normal teammate duties, but you start processing, at least some people do, start processing the opportunity of what Game 5 is going to be.
Two-one pitch to Pence is slapped to second base, and there are 2 away. A reminder, tonight's telecast is sponsored by AT&T, mobilizing your world, and by Coors Banquet. That's how it's done. Two gone, bases empty, last of the 7th. Guy's been in the goat mask the entire night, John. I don't know that he's had a bite to eat or a sip to drink, and I'm assuming it's a he. We don't know.
I don't know why. I just saw it earlier and laughed then, and saw it again, laughing again.
Crawford has doubled and scored tonight. San Francisco Zoo has the Giants to thank for a great deal of its merchandise sales. With the panda here for many years, the baby giraffe, the nickname bestowed upon Brandon Belt. Crazy Crab has been dead for a long time, but other animals live on. And the Cub fans, as has been the case these last number of years, always traveling well. Cultivating the Drew Carey look tonight. Two-1 from Edwards to Crawford. That's a fair ball, playable, and David Ross is quick to jump on it and tag Crawford out. Edwards gets through. The Giants in order. Cubs down to their last 6 outs tonight. We go to the top of the 8th inning. Chicago trailing by 3. Fans dig into the game with unlimited data on their smartphones. Show us how you're a baseball fan by using #UnlimitedBaseball for a free MLB Shop gift code and the chance to win tickets to every 2017 World Series game. David Ross leads things off in the Cubs half of the 8th. Ross the pitcher spot, and then top of the order Dexter Fowler. David has driven in both of Chicago's runs tonight with a solo home run in the 3rd, a sac fly in the 5th. Just 2 runs on 2 hits for Chicago tonight as Ross takes a strike. And Matt Moore has been the biggest problem tonight. In fact, the last Giants pitcher not named Bumgarner to go 7 or more with 2 runs or less and win a postseason game was Barry Zito back in 2012. This was the whole idea for the Giants in spending the money to go get Johnny Cueto, spending the money to go get Jeff Samardzija, and then the deal that brought Matt Moore in at the deadline. A starting pitching supporting cast for Madison Bumgarner. 2-2 to Ross.
Well, the formula is pretty simple for the Giants. They were riding their starters all year, so why not continue to do that? And in Game 5, as you saw the shot of Bumgarner, will he be available out of the pen? Similar to his World Series magic.
9 strikeouts for Matt Moore tonight.
The breaking ball. He has really been on point most of the night with all of his pitches, mixing them up great. Him and Posey, what a game plan so far.
The pinch hitter is Jorge Soler.
See, the beauty about pitching is if you think a guy's trying to jump your fastball, you don't throw him a fastball. You do that, and you start playing with the head of the lineup of the Chicago Cubs and feasting off the guys who are aggressive and making those pitches accordingly. There's no need for anybody to get macho at any time of the year and say, I trust my fastball and I'm going to throw it till you hit it. That game plan will get you in trouble, especially with the Cubs.
Soler with a swing and a drive out to left field, playable for Blanco, shy of the track. Chicago is down to its final 4 outs tonight. You know, thinking back to yesterday as Dexter Fowler digs in now, Cubs were 6 outs away from cutting off the head, killing it with a sweep. I think back to last year's American League Division Series between Houston and Kansas City when the Astros were 4 outs away from finishing off the Royals. Not only got past Houston, but went on to win a World Series title.
That's why in this game, unlike football, you can't really play it so much on the emotion. In other words, the emotion of that 3-run homer in the second inning yesterday was so incredible. As you saw their dugout, you could sense the thought of, we just got a 3-run homer out of Arrieta. He's on the mound. We're beating Bumgarner, and we're going home. And then not to mention, we've got 102-3 mile an hour closer out of the game. You can fast track things, and my point is they didn't take advantage yesterday of the opportunity to get more runs when it was there, and the Giants did a great job of keeping it there.
Full count to Fowler. 3 balls and 2 strikes. For what would be a Game 5 on Thursday. Chicago still has 3 outs to try to say something about a 3-run deficit tonight. Last of the 8th, and another pitching change for Joe Madden as right-hander Hector Rondon takes over to face the 6, 7, 8 part of the Giants order.
Rondon came in and obviously only faced 1 guy last night before Chapman came in. You see Soler in right field and Hayward now playing center. But a good opportunity to get Rondon some action here in an inning.
Another base hit for Connor Gillespie. Make him 4 for 4 tonight. And Connor Gillespie still has a look on his face that would imply he's trying to make the roster. Kenny, we talked about his journey back to the Giants earlier tonight. What a chapter he has written in Game 4 this evening.
Yet another one. Juris Familia, Aroldis Chapman, and now 4 hits. Matt, that face you just talked about, that's his game face, and it's always on. It's on 3.5 hours before the game. He's a serious guy, and you can understand why. He's been through a lot.
His single sets up Joe Panik with nobody out here in the 8th. A lot of folks back in Chicago have written about the ex-White Sox factor as though it's some mythical thing that's going to at some point cost the Cubs. And a called strike 3 taken by Panik. Garbage Time with Katie Nolan has been called epic, witty, and refreshing, and the future of sports TV. Don't miss an all-new episode of the Emmy-winning sensation tonight after baseball right here on FS1. One out, one on now for Gregor Blanco. And we do know this about the 4 for 4 game that Connor Gillespie has put together tonight against a variety of Cubs pitching. It's the first 4-hit game by a Giant player in a postseason since Pablo Sandoval's memorable 3-home run opener, Game 1 of the 2012 World Series against Detroit. mean, those were 3 home runs, and Sandoval added another hit. These are 4 singles, but you get the idea. They don't come around very often for any franchise. 4-hit postseason games.
Well, you almost feel like he checked himself in with the wild card, but he really became a giant to this home base last night off of Chapman, which shocked everybody. Of course, the 4 hits now icing on the cake, but you wonder if Matt Moore just became a giant tonight in the fan base of what they were hoping he could provide for them. And turn it over to Johnny Cueto. 3 new starters on this staff.
Quick throw into first. Gillespie's back.
It's interesting, the Giants were trying to get Zach Greinke. They were also trying to get a couple years ago John Lester.
Yep.
But what they ended up doing for me is getting 2 pitchers for the price of 1 they were trying to get in Zach Greinke. Of course, he went on to the Diamondbacks. I would think everybody's happy with the results right now.
Well, the Giants and Cubs have been in play the past couple of off seasons for a lot of the same big name, big money free agents. Ben Zobrist prior to this year. John Lester prior to 2015. Not to be outdone, Theo Epstein and his staff, and we talked about it more during games 1 and 2 of this series. They have put together a fantastic roster. They'll flip to second base, and with the quick hands of Javi Baez, the double play ends the last of the 8th. Bryant, Rizzo, and Zobrist, the last chance for the Cubs tonight. It's been the streak that's had the better of the curse. Well, the Giants are 3 outs away from their 11th consecutive postseason elimination game win, and it's Derek Law who will try to hammer out those final 3 outs. He, with 1 career save, is given the chance to shut it down here in the 9th. Bryant, Rizzo, and Zobrist for Chicago. Look out.
Well, we saw the energy he displayed last night. You have to temper it in this situation. You can pitch with emotion, but you cannot allow that emotion to get the best of you when you're counting outs.
Just in case, Javi Lopez is up in the bullpen for San Francisco.
And what I mean by that, Matt, is the role you're normally in, you're conducive for it. You're used to it. Now all of a sudden you get an opportunity and you start thinking, I'm going to get 3 outs. I get 3 outs, that's a save. We go on and I'll be doing my thing on the mound. That's the area you got to be careful of.
And a base hit for Chris Bryant. Leadoff hitter aboard here in the top of the 9th.
Well, it'll be 1 and done.
So Law loses Bryant, and Bruce Bochy makes what may be the first of a couple of 9th inning pitching changes. We'll be right back. Game coverage for the Dodgers and Nationals starts at 4 Eastern, and then Game 5 between LA and Washington at 5 Eastern, followed by Game 5 between the Cubs and Giants, if necessary, Thursday at 8:30 Eastern. And we say if necessary, that caveat is required because the Cubs have come back many times before. 7 wins when trailing in the 9th inning or later this year. The pitching change brings a postseason hero in for San Francisco. Javier Lopez in the postseason as a Giant has limited left-handed batters to a 4 for 33 line. He's the only active player that can claim 4 World Series rings.
And this is what Bruce Bochy has been known for. 1 appearance, 1 batter appearance out of his relievers.
Rizzo lays off a good take to make it 2-1. Anthony Rizzo in previous meetings with Lopez 2 for 9 with a couple of strikeouts. The switch hitter Ben Zobrist waits next. Matt Moore went the first 8 for San Francisco and was brilliant tonight. It's now 3 balls and a strike to Anthony Rizzo. Just awfully tough on left-handed batters.
Yeah, just when you think you're going to see a fastball or a ball you can elevate, he goes the other way.
Full count to Rizzo, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first with nobody out, and time taken.
I'm a little surprised that Bryant has stayed at first base. They basically have played away from him, giving him the opportunity to get a big lead. You see Belt behind him.
Ball 4. And the Cubs bring the tying run to the plate with nobody out.
That should be it for Javier Lopez.
Well, Sergio Romo is hot. And Bruce Bochy is going to call on his once again closer. The slider specialist is summoned to try to get the final 3 outs tonight. Nobody out here in the top half of the 9th inning. Some comeback facts. Their largest comeback entering the 9th was exactly the 3-run deficit they're faced with tonight. That is in Cubs postseason history. That happened back in 1986. And it is Sergio Romo for the time being. Though there are 2 up behind him getting hot in a hurry in the Giants bullpen. Ben Zobrist the batter.
And this is the problem of not having a lockdown guy to come in the 9th inning, and you're mixing and matching the rhythm, trying to come in and get one guy out at a time. The previous guys, you just don't feel the rhythm as you would if you started the inning knowing you're going to go until you either get it done or don't get it done.
Just to clarify, that 3-run 9th inning comeback story we posted a moment ago, that's a major league postseason number, not just Cubs franchise history. The 1-1. Not a lot of previous experience between Ben Zobrist and Sergio Romo. There's 1 plate appearance. Zobrist 0 for 1 against the veteran Giant closer. Bryant and Rizzo aboard. Zobrist lays off again. 3 balls and a strike.
Great discipline, because you know the ball's going to be coming to you if he throws the slider. He tries to backdoor it, misses. His sinkers have been low. So you think knees and above and look for a ball coming into you, and then you can let it go.
The 3-1. Lined into right field. That'll rattle around. Bryant scores easily. Rizzo held it third. And it's a 2-run ball game with nobody out in the 9th.
See, and that's exactly what Zobrist did the whole at bat. He stayed off the low sinkers. He waited for one that came up above the knees, and you saw exactly what he was able to do. He was ready, he turned and burned on it. And the Cubs are saying, not so fast. Dave Righetti going out to talk to the Giants I guess you can say now closer, in Romo.
Hunter Strickland and Will Smith are ready to go in the San Francisco bullpen. Joe Madden's getting his closer up, and Joe's going to pinch hit here for Addison Russell. The guy who drove in 95 runs during the regular season is being pinch hit for, and now Bruce Bochy's going to come out and counter with a move of his own. Not before he has a little word or a question with Todd Tichenor, the third base umpire. So Joe waited for Madden, or rather Boch waited for Madden to play his hand, and now the Giants counter, or the wheels are turning. Tying runs on base with nobody out, top of the ninth. We'll be right back. With the tying runs on base, Joe Madden showed Chris Coughlin as a pinch hitter. So Bruce Bochy made a move for the left-hander Will Smith. After that move was announced, Madden went back to his bench and tabbed Wilson Contreras to swing the bat. A much better matchup for Chicago, as Contreras hit .311 against left-handed pitching in his inaugural season in the big leagues. And he's got the tying runs out there with nobody out here in the ninth. It started with a Bryant single. Rizzo walked. Zobrist doubled in a run. One and one.
Well, that's what you're going to see out of Smith. The curveball looks like it rolls in there, but has tremendous spin. And Contreras, he's done his one at bat with curveballs where he has gotten a hit, put it in play. A double.
Will Smith was actually stingier against right-handed hitting during the regular season. Back up the middle and through. Rizzo scores. Here's Zobrist, and the Cubs have tied it here in the ninth.
We'll make that 2 for 2 now, Matty. Off of curveballs. He stayed right there with the pitch and took it right back up the middle. And this series continues to absolutely blow me away.
24-year-old rookie Wilson Contreras, who didn't even get to big league Chicago until midseason, has just tied it here in the ninth, and he represents the series winning run. Hayward bunting. Smith will go to second. They cut down the lead man. Throw to first is offline. Hayward's on his way to second. The go-ahead run in scoring position now.
Well, this bunt was way too hard. An easy double play, and he just pulls it. Crawford trying to hurry up because Hayward can flat out fly for his size. And you see him pull the ball right there, and Belt couldn't get off the bag in time.
One out, go ahead run at second, and here comes Bruce Bochy. He's got Hunter Strickland hot. It's Javier Baez and David Ross scheduled for Chicago, a pair of right-handed hitters. And Bruce Bochy is going to make another change. A brand new story, all tied at 5 in the ninth inning. Momentum on the side of the visitors. A top of the ninth inning that is turning into a nightmare for San Francisco. They are on their 5th pitcher of the inning, and there's only one away. It's a double switch that brings Gorky Hernandez and Hunter Strickland in. Javi Baez, not one to get cheated with a huge swing and a miss. 0-1.
Yeah, I was going to say this is power against power, but I would hesitate to say he even has to throw Baez a fastball with the slider and the big swing you saw right there. He was trying to hit it to the glove beyond the left field stands.
0-1 to Baez, who's 0 for 3 tonight.
Well, both of those innings you were talking about started with a walk. You have to make them earn it in the ninth. There's something psychological about getting a free pass to start the inning, and that's what the Cubs been able to do. And a big walk in the 8th inning for the Giants last night. Bryant gets a base hit, but the walk also that comes into play. Any walk in the 9th just absolutely makes the other team feel like that gift has been given to them.
Strickland in front, 0-2. Trying to keep that go-ahead run at bay. Baez singles back up the middle. Hayward's being waved around, and Chicago has taken a 6-5 lead.
I am surprised at the pitch selection. Said it before, so it isn't like I'm saying it afterwards. This is power against power, but it should have been slider, slider, slider. These young players for the Cubs are fearless and don't give up any inch to their competitors. And the craziness continues for the Cubs in a temporary lead.
Here's David Ross. About 20 minutes ago, that oh no feeling was squarely in the visitors' clubhouse. The Cubs thinking about going home for a game 5. We were talking about John Lester preparing to make a big start on Thursday. But 4 in the top of the 9th inning against a Giant bullpen that has been the Achilles heel of the team down the stretch has put the Giants 3 outs away from elimination. Did not think we'd need to talk about who'd hit in the bottom of the 9th about a half hour ago. But San Francisco will have Gorkys Hernandez, then the top of the order, Span and Belt. Against that guy, Aroldis Chapman. Ross sends it on the ground to Panic to Crawford for 1. They get the double play, but the Giants have some work to do. 4 in the top of the 9th inning. The Cubs are 3 outs away from punching their ticket to the National League Championship Series. Last night, Chicago came up big. A late rally fell just short. Chris Bryant hit a game-tying home run. Tonight, Chicago has broken through against the Giants bullpen again. To the bottom of the 9th in a 1-run game. Well, the Chicago Cubs were 3 outs away from having to play a game 5 in Chicago on Thursday night. But 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning has given them a chance to close out this series here. And it's given Aroldis Chapman a chance at redemption. Back in the more comfortable environs of a 3-out save opportunity. It is Gorkys Hernandez leading things off for San Francisco. Hernandez, Span, and Belt as you take a look at some of the defensive changes for Chicago. One and one. So Wilson Contreras in left. Javi Baez moves from second to short. Ben Zobrist from left to second. And those are the changes that bring on Aroldis Chapman in the ninth. A ball and 2 strikes.
Well, all he does is average 100 miles an hour, which league average is 93. So that in and of itself tells you how hard it is to hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, coupled with the fact that he reaches out at 6.7 feet. So his release point is going to feel like it's right on top of you as a hitter.
And the Giants are down to their final 2 outs in the 2016 season. An absolutely amazing turn of events in the top half of the ninth by a team that we should not have been in the least bit surprised to have pulled it off.
I'm basically surprised about everything that's happened the last 2 nights.
Matt Moore absolutely dominated for 8 innings tonight. 10 strikeouts, left the Giants in fine shape. Here's Denard Span now. Did all he could do, but 5 Giant relievers. And 4 runs later in the 9th inning, and it's Chicago that's 2 outs away from their 2nd consecutive National League Championship Series. One and 1. Denard Span has had a couple of great nights. A double and a triple yesterday. 2 more hits, an RBI, and a run scored tonight. I mean, how do you dial up for 102 on the corner like that?
No, you can't. Every hitter's got his own radar gun in his mind. In other words, timing mechanism to determine how quickly they have to fire. And right now, when you stand up there, you can only imagine you're trying to show the Chapman that you don't have fear or that you can't catch up to it. And that's what most of the guys can't do, is catch up to 102.
And the Giants are down to their final out tonight. If Chapman finishes business here, this 4-run 9th inning comeback in a clinch game for the Cubs would be the largest such win in postseason history. Brandon Belt, the last chance for San Francisco tonight.
Fastballs up would give Brandon Belt real issues. His only chance is to connect on a fastball down.
Boy, the Cubs are furiously trying to reposition Bryant, Baez, and Zobrist, backing them way up the middle. A ball and a strike to Brandon Belt.
That pitch, if that pitch wasn't in, that would have been the pitch he had a chance to drive. You see where this pitch ends up going. It's just a little bit too far in. He tries to do his best to pull his barrel in and hands in, but he actually needs something middle away and use Chapman's power. Anything up the path of Belt's bat, I don't think can get to it.
Aroldis Chapman has not thrown a pitch under 100 miles an hour. Another one at 101. And the Cubs are a strike away from moving on in the postseason. The San Francisco Giants have not lost a postseason elimination game since Game 4 of the division series against the Marlins in 2003. Belt not going away without a fight.
No, he did a great job battling on that pitch that was up. See that pitch up, ties him up.
And the Chicago Cubs are moving on to the National League Championship Series. Visiting fans raising the W. Back-to-back NLCS appearances for the winningest team in baseball this year. And for the San Francisco Giants, they simply ran out of even year magic. Too much gas from Aroldis Chapman. And too much Chicago Cubs comeback willpower tonight. 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning. The biggest 9th inning comeback in a postseason clinch game in Major League history. I mean, the swing of emotion in the final inning tonight. The Cubs were 3 outs away from having to defend home turf and send this back to a Game 5 at Wrigley. 4 runs and a half hour later, and they're headed back to the National League Championship Series. Ken Rosenthal standing by on the field.
Ben, congratulations. Thanks. Giants have had trouble in the 9th inning for quite some time now. They had trouble last night. Down 3 runs. What was the feeling in the dugout entering that inning?
Well, shoot, you know, they played us so tough the last couple games. You know, we were just trying to scratch and claw, do anything we could to get base runners on. When KB got it going, and then Riz walked, you know, you just kind of had a feeling something good was going to happen. So, you know, we just put good at-bats together, and good things ended up happening.
Knowing how resilient the Giants are, how important was it to close it out tonight and avoid going back to Wrigley for Game 5?
Well, it's big. You know, it seemed like they had all the momentum the last 2 games, and you know, if they had won this game, they would have still had the momentum going back to Wrigley. We still would have been confident, but you don't want to get in that situation with all the momentum on their side. You know, even if we are going back home, but you know, that's why this win is so huge. You know, we never quit, and we aren't stopping now.
You played on a World Series team with Tampa Bay. You played on a World Series team with Kansas City. Is this a World Series team?
Well, shoot, yeah. I mean, we believe that. You know, that's why we're playing. So you still got to execute. You still got to do the job, and we were able to do enough this series to get the win against a really great team over there. You know, they never quit either, and they've proven that these elimination games they tend to win them. You know, so for us to do this in this stadium with these fans, you know, they cheer hard for their home team. You know, so for us to be able to quiet them there in the 9th and hear the Cub fans, you know, it was nice.
Ben, congratulations. Matt, back to you.
Thanks.
All right, Kenny, thanks. Ben Zobrist had a big RBI double as a part of the 4-run 9th inning rally, and 5 Giants relievers, John. They couldn't get it done to protect a 3-run lead.
Yeah, they tied the game up before there was even an out made, and the one out that could have been made was turned at second and then thrown away, and what ended up to be a bunt to sacrifice. Hayward gets the second, scores on the base hit by Contreras. Look, some things you can't run from, and the one thing the Giants weren't able to run from was their bullpen was not a strength down the stretch. Bruce Bochy tried everything he possibly could, and it just didn't work out in what would be an improbable game that the Cubs came back to win.
The Cubs team that clinched a division crown way back on September 15th. They had to stay sharp down the stretch. They took the first 2 games of this series and then came to San Francisco, watched the Giants get all kinds of momentum with the extra innings thriller last night. San Francisco was 3 outs away from forcing a Game 5, but it's the Cubs that are moving on in the postseason. Much more post-game coverage to come. We send it to Kevin Burkhardt back in our Los Angeles studios. KB, take it away.